I kind of told Karen about this while you were off, but I teach at Lincoln in Ottawa, and we have three elementary schools in the district, a middle school, and a high school. I used to teach second grade the past 2 years, and now I teach fifth grade. Our district moved to a standards-based grading this year. Some grades piloted it last year, but everyone is expected to do that this year. So with that kind of being said, our data analysis, we have used AimsWeb before, and that was what we did last year and the years prior, and this year we switched over to FastBridge. I'm going to be real honest, we as teachers don't know anything about FastBridge. We haven't had any training on it. We just were told during this week, you're going to have people come into your classroom and administer, and it's a computerized test. So we did that for reading and math. And we have not had any training on that other than how to properly log in to the computer to access your scores. So then in addition to doing the FastBridge tests, we also take the MAP test. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but when we do that, we take it in the fall, winter, and spring. So all students have already taken the MAP test now. Our principal, we don't do a great job with our data analysis after that. Actually, just on Friday when we had our PLC, our teams got together and looked at if our student had any growth or if they went down from the spring of fourth grade to now fall of fifth grade. We do have their data or their scores, I believe, are in a spreadsheet that are in a Google Drive folder, so all the teachers within our school can access them. We put our grades into Skyward, so now that we're doing the standards-based grading, we are moving away from letter grades, and it's all just essentially, did they meet expectations? Are they at grade level, below grade level, or need support? And that's kind of how we're grading them. What we do when we have our PLC meetings is we get together and we kind of talk about the certain students that are, when we look at data, we kind of see what we could do for those students and if there's any potential of grouping them. We don't do any math interventions at our school. It's just reading. So maybe trying to find something for math groups that they could kind of switch throughout the classes and have tiered kiddos. Other than that, we are really lacking any consistency with grade level this year because I don't know if you're familiar with Fontes and Pinnell, but that is our reading curriculum. And we're expected to benchmark kids, which is essentially a running record, every quarter. And with fifth grade not even having all the materials yet, we haven't really put this into place. Primary got all their materials last year, but intermediate is still working on getting some of them. So it's just very inconsistent from grade level to grade level. The last thing was our BLT. We meet every other week, and there's one rep from each grade level, and we are K through 5. And in that meeting, they talk a little bit more about data and analysis and what we need to do for our students. And then that rep is expected to come back to the grade level and kind of share what they talked about. Not always does that happen just because there's more things that we need to get through than sharing what happened in the meeting. There are notes from the meeting that everyone's expected to read. But as far as that, we really don't do a whole lot with data other than just talking with our team, kind of leveling our students off where they need to be. But this early in the year, we haven't done much with it. Even with interventions, it hasn't been much of a topic of conversation. That kind of concludes everything that I have. I know I kind of just like sprinted through that, but do you have any questions or comments?
With your PLCs, how often does your school meet?
We have, this year we decided to do, the district has early release Fridays. So our students dismiss at 2:05 and then we are contracted until 4. So essentially from 2:40 till 4 every Friday we have a PLC. Not always is that time with our team. Sometimes the principal already has something planned for you, so you don't get that time. And then once a month, we're supposed to have a PLC with the grade level in the district. So the other 2 elementary schools and ours get together and the grade levels talk. Obviously, I'm sure you guys know that even when you're allotted the 2:40 to 4 time, it normally is like 3:15 to 4 after everyone gets everything that they need to accomplish done. Then when we break off, it's normally about 3 or 3:15, but it's generally once a week.
Does your building have any plans on training for your FastBridge? Do you know of?
There's supposed to be our title teachers at our school. We have 2 of them. They were supposed to be trained on it. They actually, I think they were. They are still just as confused as we are, which is really hard for us because we don't have anyone to go to that's more certified in that. But it was literally something they sent in an email that we will be coming to your rooms to do these tests, and then we'll go over it later. And all of us still are just kind of like, well, we don't really know what this is, because it's supposed to take place of Ames Web, but to me, it's nothing like Ames Web. So we're still learning.
Okay.
So what you said that you use data to tier them. How do you dissect what level the kids are going to go on or into?
Do you guys know what the MAP assessments look like?
I am not familiar with that.
So it's, since this is my first year in fifth grade, I've never taken the standardized test where I watched over and like saw what they were doing, but essentially it's like that. It's called Measures of Academic Progress, and that's the assessment. And what they do is the kids, it can take an hour and a half for a student to take it. So it's normally a big chunk of the day when we do take those. But what they do is they have questions that go off the students' level. So they're not all the same question that the whole class has. A student that really excels will get more difficult questions, whereas a student that is not excelling will have easier questions. So essentially, after they take this test, we have a website that we can go to that has all their data right there in front of us. So it tells us they hit this standard. So let's say, for instance, their geometry portion of the test, they did perfectly on. They're above grade level. Whereas their operations and algebraic thinking are like a third grade level, and they should be a fifth grade level. So then what we could do as a grade level is look at those students that are missing that chunk, and we'd put them together. So let's say there was 5 students from every class that struggled with the operations and algebraic thinking. We would take those 5 kids from each class and put them in one class, and that teacher would do an intervention group. And kind of that's what our hopes are. That's what the 5th grade team did last year. So that's been a conversation that we've had. But like I said, we haven't really done a whole lot with data so far this year.
So are they planning to get you professional development on your FastBridge?
I don't know about that. I think the plan was for our title aides to be able to be certified and then help us with that. I'm assuming that we will have more PD on it, but that's not necessarily in the works yet.
So following the guidelines here, the next part would be, what kind of help are you hoping for?
Honestly, I think like what Robin just said, we're having more PD on that rather than having us just thrown into it would be very beneficial for all of us. Our FastBridge was a reading and math test, and it's also about fluency, so how quickly they can read and then do their math facts. But we also just took a portion on behaviors where they had to give themselves a survey. So just learning about what the whole FastBridge system encompasses would be very helpful for all of us. And then the other thing that we could benefit from would be just having like vertical teams to where our grade levels could be consistent, where 4th grade wasn't such a big jump to 5th grade on how they grade or how testing looks.
Okay, so the next part, we are to give you ideas on help. And I just go back to having that professional development would be huge on learning what FastBridge entails. Maybe meeting one-on-one. I don't know how many 5th grade teachers your building has, but sometimes just meeting with your co-teachers, to get their perspective on FastBridge or what they've learned or really anything in the classroom, I think would also be beneficial.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and anything it seems like with technology in education, we don't educate, we just throw everyone into it. And I've found that I've learned more by playing with the program myself a lot of times than even when they give us the professional development, because I have to just do it.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it is something that, like, us as teachers, like you were saying too, Karen, when we all would be able to get together, I think it'd be a lot more beneficial. But sometimes that time is so limited with the agenda that they already have for us. So hopefully we will get time to kind of toy around with that. All right.
Have we reached the end here?
We have reached the end. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop my screencast.